Was he right? That's the question we're going to take a look at today. Are you right for supporting Trump? Are you right for being against Trump? Here's a couple of things I want to talk about as far as the State of the Union address from last night. And some of them are pretty interesting because I spent my time quite a bit taking a look at the Democrats and their response to what was going on as far as what he was saying about the state of the United States. And I found a few things that were very notable this year versus a speech from last year. And one was that the Democrats actually stood for something. And I would have to actually give them a thumbs up for that. They stood for the Olympic team when they got announced for being in the room and being presented, showing everyone their gold medals, and the goalie being presented the medal for his heroic athletic ability while he was saving goals left and right during the gold medal game against the Canadians. The Democrats actually stood and applauded for that, along with the rest of America. And that's great. It shows me that hopefully that they still see themselves as part of our country. For a while there, it's kind of the question mark, kind of the head scratcher. Do they see themselves as separate from the rest of us? They wouldn't celebrate anything that we enjoy as Americans as far as victories and triumphs. So for them to do that, I thought was a good gesture on their part. They also applauded and stood for the rescue worker for the floods that happened down in Texas last year, who saved 164 souls that day. And again, a very noble gesture from the Democratic Party for them to stand up and applaud with the rest of the country for one of our heroes, one of the people that went out and literally saved people's lives over and over again over exhausting period of time. Um, but there were some times that they applauded and clapped for things that didn't make a lot of sense. One of the times they actually clapped during the speech, and go back and watch it for yourself, when he talked about the Democrats stand for increasing your taxes, and they applauded and they clapped like apes and monkeys. It was insane. There was other opportunities where they could have clapped, where they could have applauded. Trump talked about Trump RX, where he was able to negotiate the prescription drug prices for just a limited number of drugs at the moment. They're continuing to work on more and more drugs that they can add to the cadre of different types of prescriptions that you can get off of the website. But what they negotiated with the drug companies is the best price available in the world for the United States of America. You see, in the past, the drug companies would actually supplement their research and development costs by charging the United States of America and the citizens here more for the same drugs that they were shipping to other countries at a lower price. So they would charge us more so that they can make a profit and to be able to pay for the research and development for the same drugs that they sold to other nations at a lower price. So Trump went to them and said, hey, you need to give us the cheapest price that you give everyone. The US shouldn't pay more for a drug just because we have money. All countries should have whatever the top, whatever the bottom is, and the US should be able to pay the best price because we're the United States of America. And the drug companies capitulated on some of the drugs, and he was able to negotiate better deals because of that. The other thing that the Democrats did not applaud, which again, it doesn't make any sense, is Trump accounts. Donald Trump once joked that he could come up with a cure for cancer, and the Democrats would still criticize him. So not only does he drop prescription drug prices with literally no penalty to the American voter, and then the second thing, he comes up with this whole concept of these Trump accounts where families with under that who make under $150,000 a year, their kids automatically qualify for these accounts that are sponsored by the federal government. I believe it's $1,000 that initially gets put into the account. And those accounts can be added on to by the family, by employers of the family member. So if the mother or father has an employer who wants to contribute to the kid's Trump account, they can. And that account gets invested into the stock market where it can gain interest over a period of time. He was even able to get donations from people like Michael Dell. I believe Michael Dell donated like $6 billion to these Trump accounts for these underprivileged youth, for all U.S. citizens in this country who are kids. Um, Nicki Minaj offered money out of her own pocket to contribute to that. He's got many corporate sponsors to also add funds to these Trump accounts so that these kids can have a leg up on the future. There's estimates that with contributions, regular contributions from the parents or from their employers, that these accounts could be worth $100,000 by the time the kids turn 18. You're talking about an amazing, amazing gift to the people of this country. And just like if he had cured cancer, no standing ovations for that, no applause for that. I don't understand where the Democrats are coming from. I don't understand what country that they're actually trying to support, but it doesn't seem to be the United States of America. When he talks about those things, all you have is people like Ilhan Omar just shaking her head in disbelief. Trump mentioned how the government is cracking down on fraud. So the taxpayer money that you and I both pay is being stolen and it's being manipulated and it's being diverted not into the pockets of Americans who need it, but into the pockets of other people who are stealing it. And we'll talk more about that at a later date as far as where exactly we know that that money is going, even though it's not going to the places it's supposed to go. But one of the people who seem to be the chief beneficiary of a lot of this funding fraud, especially in the state of Minnesota, is Ilhan Omar. And it's been revealed from her own financial disclosures that she went from being worth roughly about $50,000, her and her husband, to roughly $30 million in just 1 year. Let that sink in. Unless you're Jed Clampett and you strike oil in your backyard while shooting at some food, or you win the lottery, you don't go from $50,000 in net worth to $30 million worth of net worth in 1 year without some huge, huge corruption going on. That's, if you have another explanation, I'd be willing to hear it. You can put it in the comments. I'll take a look at it. But I don't see another way to be able to do that. So you had Ilhan, she was shaking her head the whole time where he was touting how they're going to stamp down on fraud. He's even going to put J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, in charge of rooting all of that out. And as an American citizen, it warms my heart to know that they're going to try to stop wasting my money. They're going to stop wasting your money. We all work hard. We spend a lot of time, dedicate a lot of time earning money for our families and for ourselves, only for the government to come in and take it. If you work 8 hours in a day, your first 3 to 4 hours of your day isn't even for you. By the time you get to lunch, that's when you're actually starting to work for you, for yourself. That whole morning, you're working for somebody else. You're working for the government. And then there's people out there that are stealing it. And the government is not keeping a great eye on making sure that that is stopped. Now they want to do something about it. Donald Trump wants to do something about it, but Ilhan Omar says no. When he mentioned that there's Somali pirates in Minnesota, she looked like she was offended. Well, she's one of them. $30 million? Yeah, she's a Somali pirate too. She started to yell and scream out that Trump killed Americans. You could barely hear what she was saying. It was kind of funny because he was the only one there with a microphone. So even though her and Rashida Tlaib were trying to heckle the president, you couldn't really make out what they were saying. Trump killed people, killed citizens. No, no, no. He was explaining about all of the angel families that were out there in our society. This long list of angel families, literally hundreds of angel families. Their angel families are people who've lost loved ones because of illegal immigration, because some illegal migrant took their life, whether it was a criminal act. We've had U.S. citizens who were out jogging and had their heads bashed in with a rock, people pushed off of bridges, women raped. We've had other U.S. citizens who are gone now, and their families are angel families because they drove a tractor trailer into them and killed them all. There's so many different instances of kids being stabbed to death in bathtubs, from people being accosted and taken, elderly people being killed over and over and over again. And Donald Trump said their names. The left is always whining and complaining about making sure that everyone knows the names of two Minnesota protesters who tried to stop ICE from doing their job. And those two people, they're angelic. And they want everyone to never forget who they are. Yet the left has already forgotten the names of so many American citizens, hundreds and hundreds of them. Some estimates have it to 12 to 1,500 American citizens are dead since Joe Biden took office at the hands of illegal immigrants. And they don't say a word about them. And Trump brought up just a few of them during his State of the Union address. The kicker to it all, and I felt it was the most powerful moment, it was this. He asked everyone in Congress one question, and the question was this: will you stand up if you believe that the American government has a duty to the American citizen over the illegal immigrant? And every Republican stood and applauded, and every Democrat sat and stared. J.D. Vance made a comment. It was actually earlier today, and I thought was very telling. And the comment was this. He said, from his angle, sitting behind the president, he could see the entire gallery, and he could see the Republicans standing and jubilantly clapping. And he could see the Democrats. And he said not only were they not clapping, but what was so telling was that not only did they not clap, they looked around at each other because they had no courage. They looked around because he knew, he could see that some of them wanted to do that. Some of them, he said, even tepidly clapped while they sat. But they were afraid of what the other Democrats would think about them. That's not who I want to represent me. That is not who I want to represent my family. I am a U.S. citizen. And if you're a U.S. citizen, you vote for people who are looking out for your best interest, not someone else's best interest. That's why we have elections. That's why the Republicans want voter ID. The Democrats will sit there and tell you all day long that voter ID is unnecessary. Their talking point now is, voter ID is a solution looking for a problem. I'm a little disappointed that Trump didn't get a little bit more into what they've been finding out down in Georgia. And we'll talk more about that as the weeks and months unfold, what the FBI is discovering in those ballots. But I want everyone to think about this one very, very important consideration. And I'm preaching to the choir because I know 80% at least of the United States wants voter ID, except for radical Democrats who want to cheat. But the biggest thing that you must understand is when you go to the ballot box, you are determining where your money goes. You're voting for where the public till gets spent in this country. Do you want to decide that for yourself, or do you want an illegal immigrant deciding that for your money? That's why voter ID is so important. Guys, if you're still listening or watching my video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you liked what you heard, please like and subscribe. You guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you again soon.